This video is sponsored by Mark 7 Car Wash Equipment, providing clean, dry, shiny cars for over 50 years. Visit mark7.net for more information.
Hello and welcome to Unscripted, the video series that connects you with market leaders. Before becoming an Amazon best-selling author for his book, Balanced Accountability, Leadership Secrets to Win Hearts and Maximize Performance, our guest today was president for a $3 billion publicly traded company that won multiple awards for best places to work. He knows how to inspire employees to achieve the highest levels possible. We welcome Hernani Alves, CEO of Balanced IQ, and also a car wash operator in Sacramento, California. Hello, Hernani, and thank you for joining us today.
My pleasure. Such an honor to be here. So I'm so glad to be here with Rich, so popular with the professional car wash. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Hernani. So today's topic is on managing versus leadership. And I read your book, Balanced Accountability, and in the book you shared several personal stories and experiences that occurred throughout your career. One of which was a bad nickname that you had at work. So, can you tell our audience a little bit about that story and how you were able to turn that experience into a positive learning experience?
Absolutely. Thank you so much for reading the book and giving me all that great feedback. So when I always talk about my name first, Hernani, because most of your listeners have probably never heard of that name before. I was born in Angola, Africa, and my sister, which is 14 years older than I am, really liked the name and kind of motivated my mom and my dad to name me after Hernani, which was a singer in Africa. So ended up getting the cool name. I didn't like it when I was a kid, but now I really enjoy it. But when I started working at a company and I started as a leadership position, actually, I was a manager. And so I went in and I started micromanaging people all over them. And I remember my district manager coming in and going, Hernani, I would like to take you to lunch because our store was doing great. We had just tripled the business. So things were going on perfect. And then all of a sudden, he wants to come in and take me to lunch, which I thought he was rewarding me, but it was one of those uncomfortable lunches. And he goes, Hernani, do you know why we're here today? And I'm like, to celebrate how great everything's going and how well we're doing. Keep in mind, I was 23 at the time, just all excited. And he goes, not exactly. I want to let you know your team doesn't want to work with you. I go, what? Doesn't want to work with me? There's just no way. They're making more money they've ever made before because we had a bonus program and they were exceeding their bonus. And he goes, Hernani, do you know what your nickname is? And I go, nickname? Hernani is one of those names you can have some fun with, of course. When I was growing up, it happened a little bit. But they go, no, my team was calling me her Nazi. I couldn't believe it. That's like one of the worst things you could call anyone. And that was because I was managing them. And at that point, I was devastated. I actually didn't want to even work there anymore. But once I got over my pity party and took the hit, what I was doing, then I was able to make some improvements. Won their hearts. They actually ended up giving me an award a year later for being the best leader they've ever had. So I was honored to do that. But that was the lesson I got. I'm so thankful for that.
Yeah, it's an interesting way to learn something there. So we talked about managing versus leadership, and can you tell us what are the characteristics of a quality manager, Hernani?
Yeah, so managing is that's kind of how we're brought up. You see the store name title, let me talk to the manager and so forth. At the end of the day, who likes to be managed? Do you like to be managed, Rich? Probably not. Most people don't. They like to be led. So I was managing because that's how I saw managers in the past, how they did it. So I was micromanaging. I would come in, catch them doing things wrong. I'd be all over them. They never did it good enough. And sometimes, I called my people idiots. I can't believe you're acting like an idiot. I've used some of these things that were derogatory. So I get why they called me that. Even though we were getting results, we were killing it. These results are going to be short term because my staff wanted to get away from me. They couldn't stand me. So long term, that wouldn't work. So some of the good characteristics of a leader is quite opposite of that. So what you're going to do is you're going to catch people doing things right, really magnify that. You lead by example, of course. You get in there, you ask for their feedback, and you actually do what leaders need to do. Managers don't do this. Managers do a lot of talking. Leaders use their ears and they listen to their team. And when they listen to their team, they let them run with it. So that's some key differences between management and leading.
Yeah, certainly a critical issue for a lot of car wash operators out there trying to manage their own staff. So when you have a manager that is displaying some of these characteristics that you mentioned here and in the book, can you have a manager? Can you turn them into an effective leader, Hernani?
100%. This is something I do now, and I work with people when I consult with businesses and so forth. Absolutely, because I came from that. And most people are managers when they first start off. So the first thing a manager needs to do, and since you read the book, so I'm kind of reviewing this. It's called the 3 Ps, which are 3 Ps of accountability. So first, you got to take the hit. Personal accountability. You need to own up to it. Know that you're not perfect. And then also be willing to go to your team and ask for feedback. Oh, managers have a hard time with that one. They're like, what? I'm supposed to be this almighty great person. No, a leader that will go to their team and go, hey, what can I do more of and less of? So let's just say I worked with you, Rich. I would go, hey, Rich, I know I haven't been the best leader for you. I want to make some improvements. What are some things that I can do more of and less of? And then at that point, that's where you've got to really listen and then provide some proof. The second one is the second P is positive accountability, where now you're actually catching people doing things right versus catching people doing things wrong all the time. You don't want to be, they call it a seagull manager. Seagull manager is a seagull that kind of flies around. They fly around the car wash lot. They see somebody doing something wrong. They go in there, ruffle all their feathers and just say some bad things. They poop on them and then they take off. And they expect their team to want to follow them. Absolutely not. They want to get away from them. They're the ones that are going to go and start looking for a new job somewhere else. And they're the ones that are going to not help that customer next, because they're at that point, they don't even want to work for the company. And then the third P is performance-based accountability, to where you have metrics. Everybody knows what are the key things that we're focused on. And then we start celebrating those. And it makes it the performance part has to be like a visible scoreboard, something everybody can see, so we can motivate, celebrate, and have some fun with it.
Obviously, a critical piece of that puzzle there is having the employee feel comfortable enough to give feedback to their manager. So, do you have any best practices or ways where we could make the employees feel comfortable enough to let their manager know what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong?
Yeah. So that's a great example there, because they are, if there's fear, if your team is scared of you, you're a Hernazi. You're me, where they're like, they don't even want to tell you they enjoy, or they don't want to be a part of you, even if they're making more money. But the key there is having the more of and less of. So do that with them, and it can be done in private. And sometimes I like to give them in advance. So like when we do performance reviews, I always ask, what, as your leader, what can I do more of and what can I do less of? So I bring that up because they get a chance to give you some feedback, at least one or two things. You're not going to question them. You're going to take notes, and then you're going to show them proof. And when you show them proof that you listened, that's where the magic happens. Because then guess what? That employee is going to come to you and they're going to go, hey, as your employee, what can I do more of and less of? And that, when they do that, that's where it starts clicking. And that's where you start creating a high performance team, is when they start being able to be transparent. They feel safe to share that with you. And they know, as a leader, you're going to make them, the number one thing of a leader that they need to do with their team is make others greater than themselves. So as a leader, are you truly making others greater? Because if you're not, and you're just beating them down, and then you got to go hire people, and you got to go through applications, you got to do all that, you got to take the hit and know that you're probably doing something that's turning people off. And that's probably why you have to hire people all the time. Where a good leader creates a tribe. People stay there for years. They want to be a part of it. They tell other people to come work for them, to work for your organization. The referrals go through the roof. So, and that's how you start winning some of these best place to work awards, by listening to your team. They have the answers. So taking that moment to do that.
And in your book, you mentioned, how important proper communication is, and you listed examples of even, just changing one word in a sentence can make all the difference with how you communicate with your employees. Another reason I like the book Hernani is because I could tell that you and I are from the same generation, so I appreciated all the 90s and the early 2000 references. You
Excellent.
mentioned one with Fun Bobby in the Friends episode, where everybody's having a good time, and Fun Bobby comes in a little down on his luck and having a bad day, and it brings the whole, party down. So can you talk a little bit about how important it is to have everybody rowing in the same direction, and if you spot somebody who's maybe not in line with everyone else, how to maybe rectify that situation so it doesn't spread?
Absolutely. Yeah, you're talking about like communication and so forth. So when you talk to someone like, hey, we need to make some changes here, that freaks people out. They're like,
Right.
uh-oh, we're gonna make these changes. I'm gonna freak out. If you could just supplement that word change with improvements, we need to make some improvements here. Right. I'm just gonna use some examples since we're in the car wash business. I'm in the car wash business. Your listeners are probably in the car wash business. They're while they're listening. Let's say you're not very happy with your ARM program, your unlimited program. You're just not getting as many people. You could freak out and go, we need to make some changes. We need to get more customers on this unlimited program. It's a fire drill. You need to get better at it. You need to ask every single person, you need to get more, right? That's a manager. A leader would go quite the opposite. They would go, hey, I've noticed our unlimited programs aren't doing very well. I'm going to take the hit. I haven't been following up on it. So I'd like to make some improvements. So I'd like to learn from you all of how we could make some improvements to where we could increase our unlimited membership program. And then the leader pauses and then they listen and they hear all these great little things. And they're like, okay, so what are the top 3 things we could do? Ask the group again. They kind of, as a leader, you know what they are, but you want your team to say it. And then you go, okay, here's a piece of paper. I want to know the top 3 things that you can commit to doing based on what you've said. And that's where the magic happens. That's where that performance-based visible scoreboard, they put it in writing. And when someone puts something in writing, it becomes real. So now as a leader, what you need to do is just follow up with them. They gave you the answers. This is what I'm going to do. Maybe I'm going to talk to every single customer, or I'm going to try to upgrade them here or there, or whatever they're going to do. They're going to go to the vacuum area. They want to make some improvements on signs, whatever that is. That's where you get that improvement. So instead of making changes, you're making improvements. And that's what helps drive the business and sales. So hopefully that's a good example for your listeners to understand.
Okay. One thing we've heard from readers over the years is that turnover seems to be an issue at times at the car wash. So, what are the best ways car washes can attract and retain quality leaders in this industry?
Absolutely. And I see that a lot. And if you're having to do it a lot, that means number one, you're probably not hiring the right person from the beginning. But then you also need to look at yourself. Are you doing something? I've seen so many car wash owners and in other organizations, they spend so much money in advertising. They're bringing all these customers in there, but just for their staff to screw it all up because they don't hire the right people. So change it. You got to change the process, make some improvements. What you want to do is create a video of social proof of your team of why they enjoy working there at that organization. So 2 to 3 minute video, this is what it is. Now that's your video to be able to go and recruit people, and always hire attitude. Attitude should be the number one reason why you hired that person. It's not rocket science at a car wash. I get it. There's some things, some fire drills, maintenance equipment, things like that. You're going to learn over time. But at the end of the day, if you have the right attitude, I can teach you the skill. So always hire attitude. Don't just hire out of desperation just because they showed up on the lot and you need somebody right there. Again, that's short term. A manager, I'm going to hire you short term. A leader is going to, you might not be the right fit. But if they've got the right attitude, I can work with that because I can develop everything else. So you got to have that retention. So take a look at what your processes are. How are you getting these recruits? Where are they coming from? Are you still on Craigslist? I mean, I've heard some people going to Craigslist and looking for hires. There's so many other things you can do to bring in better quality people through your email list. Let your customers know that you guys are expanding, you're getting busy, you're looking for some great quality people. We're looking for people that love working in a team. that love serving other people. That's all great publicity that you could do with your guests and end up getting some really good quality people.
Okay. Just as we mentioned here today, Hernani, and certainly it's evident in your book, your passion is undoubtedly accountability. So you say in your book that accountability equals love. Why is that, and where does this passion for accountability come from?
Yeah, so when I left and worked for an unbelievable company here in California called Sleep Train, we had over at one point we had over 15,000 employees, multiple sites, 3,500 locations, and we won multiple times the best workplace award through once we converted it was mattress firm. And we won that through having a good accountability program. And accountability is like the foundational skill. You've heard of hard skills, you've heard of soft skills. Well, accountability is the foundational skill. Nothing really happens until you have a good base. And growing up, my dad held me accountable to a higher standard. I didn't like him at the time. I didn't appreciate he did that. But once I became older and more mature, and I understood why my dad or my family was holding me accountable, they were holding me accountable because they loved me. And that was accountability equals love. So many people avoid it, they run away from it. But think about it. I mean, Rich, look at you're extremely successful, but there's probably a few people in your life, siblings or guardians or your parents, that held you accountable. You didn't like it at the time, but they held you to a higher standard. I have kids. That's why I hold them to a higher standard, because I want them to become greater than who I am and greater than themselves. They may not like it right now that I have them do some things that they don't enjoy, but I'm doing it out of love. And once your team understands that accountability equals love, they embrace it, they want to be a part of it. And then that's where you get your peer to peer accountability. Everybody starts holding each other accountable. So, and that's where the magic takes off. And that's why I like it so much. So the book came out and been able to work with a lot of great organizations and became an Amazon bestseller in 2 months. So I've been very blessed with that. So it's been an honor. I think you have the book there with you, right? I know you don't always carry it with you, but
I do. I have the book right here, and
awesome.
anyone who is interested in reading it, certainly recommend it. They can find more information on Amazon. So, Hernani, thank you for taking a few minutes out of your schedule to do this interview for Carwash.com.
My pleasure, Rich. Keep doing what you're doing. You're improving lives one relationship at a time by doing this. So grateful for this. Thanks a lot.